Welcome to episode 228 of Missing Pieces. This is my weekly audio journal podcast where I talk about what I'm up to and what I'm into. Recording this episode on Friday, November 1st, 2024, which is just crazy to say. This year is almost over, as is this day. I've spent my entire day so far. It's 2:26 p.m. My entire day was spent editing two YouTube videos. The first one being last night's video, which was us going out trick-or-treating for Halloween, which we'll talk about later in this episode, as we'll also talk about the other video that I edited, which was the completion of a almost 5-year project that we've been meaning to do in the world of Lego, and that was completing the Minecraft mountain cave. Documented every step of that process, and I finally finished it. Well, we finished it today, and I finally edited the video as well. The weird thing is, both of those videos are 32 minutes long. So I spent my entire day basically editing 1 hour of YouTube videos. It takes a tremendous amount of time to make a 30-minute video, but I'm so proud of both of those videos. I can't wait for everyone to come home tonight so we can watch them back, make sure everything's good to go, particularly with the Halloween one, and then put that out for people to watch today. The day after it happens, almost in real time. It was a great time last night. But again, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Before we do, we got to discuss the topic of this video, and this is something that I was thinking a lot about this week, and I thought maybe other people could relate to, and that is the idea of getting the results you deserve, and more specifically, how we're responsible for our successes and failures. And I thought about this as I was going to Planet Fitness for the first time in a very long time this week, and I was thinking, like, you know what? If there is a change that I want to make in my life for the better, it's not just going to happen to me. You got to go out and you got to work for it. And the change that I want is when I turn 40 years old, I want to be in great physical shape. I want to be at my goal weight. And how else is that going to happen unless I put the effort into it? So I put off editing a Greg's World vlog that day. Usually my number one priority is getting all these videos not only recorded, but the big part of it, editing, as I was just talking about earlier, that's the time consuming part. What you see as a 15-minute video is an hour and a half, 2 hours of my life, going through all this footage and stuff and trying to make something that's nice and cohesive and small. It's a lot harder doing the vlogging stuff than it is making Lego content, because when I shoot a Lego video, everything is very purposeful. It's like, okay, I'm shooting this thing that happened and this thing that happened. Whereas vlogging, it's more of a natural thing, and it's like I tend to record more because you can't do a retake. If something happens, you can't be like, oh, I need that to happen again. And it just doesn't work that way. Everything needs to be candid, authentic. It can't be rehearsed or rehashed or redone. Although there was that one time that my battery in my camera died during mail time, and we had to go back through and go through all of the stuff again, which really sucked, because that is really a time that you can't like close up envelopes again and be like, all right, let's go do mail time. That was painful. But yeah, everything kind of just happens in real time. So there's a lot of footage to go through, and it takes time to get that down. And that's usually my priority, is like, I got to get this video out because I've been daily vlogging, which I've been enjoying. And it seems like people are enjoying the videos too. So it's one of those things. But the thing that gets forgotten is the fact that I also have another goal, which is maybe even bigger than that. And that is like being, fit and in shape. So I went back to Planet Fitness, and it was great. The place really wasn't busy at all. I got on all the machines I wanted to. I did the whole circuit that I like doing there. And I was doing the weights that I was doing prior to me leaving the last time, which I had worked my way up to. And I'm going to admit that that was kind of a mistake. I probably should have started off a little easy, because I am, even to this day, I think that was like Tuesday I went there, I am hurting right now. It's like the delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS. It was very delayed. Like the next day I was like, oh, I knew that was going to hurt. And then the next day after that, I'm like, oh, that's even worse. Now today it's like, oh man, my arms, like I can't even straighten out my arms. I'm glad I'm sitting here like this. Holy smokes. So maybe, you are the results you deserve, but I deserve to be hurting because I went a little too crazy. Maybe I should have just did a little bit and then worked my way up, because I didn't go the next day because I was hurting so bad. So I've been doing the elliptical and not doing the muscle training stuff or strength training. So if I hadn't got the results I deserved because I went too hard, I could have did a little bit one day and then did a little bit the next day, maybe switched it up with muscle groups, but I just went full into it like I do with most things. And now I'm getting the results I deserve. Very, very much so. I'm paying the price, I guess is another way of saying that. But I'm glad that I'm back, and I'm going to keep going. As the weather gets colder, it's a perfect time to go there. And I think it's definitely worth sacrificing maybe the the I'm not going to say the quality of videos, but the quantity maybe should go down a little bit to accommodate for this, because this is a really important thing for me. And I think, long term, that could be more beneficial. But maybe I can do everything at once. That's what I always try to do. I like to balance as many plates in my hands as I can. I've got 2 hands, I've got 5 plates. I can make this happen. Maybe juggling. I get into juggling instead of balancing. That way some are always in the air. I think that's the move. So I'm doing that. And then I also decided I'm going to go back into the keto thing. Although Mrs. Brickitect, or Cody as she's known in some circles, she makes it very hard to do that because she's into baking and making all these delicious foods and desserts. You see it in the weekend vlogs, and she's making sticky toffee pudding and all these things, and we're having it over ice cream, and she's making these, oh my gosh. She's trying to sabotage me. I don't mind though. It's twist my arm. And then my kid's out trick-or-treating and getting all this candy that, I have to, of course, inspect. I've got to make sure that there's no razor blades in it, so I have to eat it all to make sure it's okay for him, if that logic checks out. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to think about things before I eat them. And it's okay, no snacking. How many carbs does that have? Because when I was doing keto before, that's when I saw the best results that I was at. And I was in my peak fitness level versus where I'm at now when I got off that routine. Last year at this time, I was going really good. And then when I broke my foot and then got out of that routine, and that, and I'm putting all I'm the results I deserve. I'm getting the results I deserve, but here's my excuses. And you know what they say about excuses? They're something that everyone has. I lost my workout partner. Cody used to go, Mrs. Brickitect, as she's also known in some circles. I love saying that. We used to go together when she was on her sabbatical. We'd go together, I think it was every day or every other day. And that was great having somebody to go with. I really enjoyed that. Even though I'm an introvert solo person, she's an extension of me. So it's like us together was great. And losing her, and then breaking my foot, and then they move locations, and I don't love the layout of the new place. It doesn't feel as good as the old one did. In just terms of the layout with setup, it's just this long hallway and everybody's looking at you. At least in my mind they are. I don't love it as much, but I just need to kind of put that aside, because where else are you going to find all that equipment for $10 a month? I could do a lot here at home. I saw a video of a guy that literally has just some of those rubber band style things that you can put under your foot and then do bicep curls with. Elastic bands, I think, is the word I'm trying to find. And you could do you could have some couple dumbbells, you could have a kettlebell, and you could pretty much do anything. Even with a chair, you can do dips and all that stuff. But I really like having a specific place to go and do all of the machines and stuff. I like those. I don't do any free weights there. That would be better to do, but I'm not quite at that level. And if you saw some of the people that are over there doing that, that's not my group. I'm with the 70-year-old dudes and women that are using the machines that kind of guide you through things. And I'm not ashamed, because in my mind, doing something is better than doing nothing, right? So that's how I feel on that. And that's where the topic of this episode kind of came from, and what I've been thinking about. And I think it's something that, whether you would like to share your experience in this, or maybe even think about it this week, I think is an important thing, getting the results you deserve. So I do nothing. I lay around on the couch. I melt while I edit videos and just turn into a blob. I got the results I deserve, right? And that can apply towards good things, bad things. If you work really hard, you get the results you deserve. But I'd like to share something else where I got the results I deserve, and it's really just a story of perseverance. And it really shouldn't have been, but I think I mentioned last week that I really wanted to play and beat a Nintendo Switch game called Luigi's Mansion 3. And I had done one session at that point when I had recorded last week's episode, and I wanted to beat it by Halloween, because it's you go around sucking up ghosts in this haunted hotel, and you're rescuing your friends, Mario, Peach, Toads, the whole squad. And at first, I thought the game was cool. The first hour of the game, where I was last week at this time, first hour of the game, you're kind of just learning the mechanics of having this vacuum cleaner and a flashlight where you're sucking up ghosts, and I really enjoyed that. But then Saturday and Sunday, I went extra crazy playing that game, because I knew we need to make a big push. This is a 15-hour game, and I had less than a week to beat it. So in my mind, because I love setting deadlines and challenges for myself. Anyways, the game started wearing on me in those 7 hours. There was some segments where the controls were really bad, to the point of being terrible. And then there were other sections that required a lot of backtracking. It's in what the biz we would call padding the game, because it would be like a 10-hour game. But what you do is you make people, once they accomplish something, like I'll give you a very specific example. The goal of the game is to make it through the floors of this hotel going up, and you're unlocking elevator buttons. You know, when you hit like the 4 and the 5 on an elevator buttons and you go up to the next floor, you're trying to unlock those so you can get to the next floor. There was a segment of this game where I actually had the button, like I beat the whole level, beat the final boss in it, had the button, and then this thing called the Polter Kitty, which is like this ghost cat, came and stole it from me. Then you have to track that ghost cat through the floors below you that you've already been through in order to get it back, and you have to like defeat that cat 3 times to get the button back that you just literally had in your hand. And that doesn't just happen once, it happened again, and it was way worse, and I knew it was coming, and I was just like, I was so ready to quit the game. Like, I really wanted to quit. I was so angry and agitated, particularly after this one boss section where the controls were just mind-numbingly terrible. And I was like, maybe I'm the only one feeling this way, and I went online to Reddit to see what other people are saying. They all felt the same way as me. And, you know, like my rating on the game just kept falling, like my mental rating, like a 10 out of 10 falls to a 9, falls to an 8. It was down to like a 5 out of 10. But then the last day, I decided like I'm going to push through. I want to beat this game, and I've decided that I'm going to do this because that's how I am. Like if I decide something, there's nothing that's going to stop me from getting or doing what I want. Nothing. Not even myself. So the last day, I have 2 floors left, and I was going to try to get through a little bit before Clark came home because it was like the deadline. It was the night before Halloween, and all through the house, all was quiet except for me playing Nintendo Switch. I had a great time that day. The boss and the levels that I went through, like floor 14, 15, that's like the final floors, so good, so enjoyable, and like the rating started coming up. But then there was the final boss, and I had been told like this boss like hurts your brain, makes you want to quit, and I had already like been at that point, so I was like, oh, this is going to be terrible, and I was fully prepared for it. But then I steamrolled the boss. Like it was crazy. I died 1 time. People are saying they died like 10 times playing against boss. I died 1 time, and I beat the game, and like Clark was with me, and we did this accomplishment. It was awesome. I was live streaming this whole thing. The chat was going wild, and it was just like this awesome sense of accomplishment, and I was so like happy that I like didn't quit, because it would have been so easy to do that, but I didn't. And a lot of it was because I was like sharing it publicly, you know, and they have like, when you're holding yourself accountable to more people than just yourself, it makes it a lot harder to give up on yourself. Right. And there was people in the chat that were helping us with various puzzles that we had trouble with. And it was just like a really great experience, you know, like to have the community come together to not only like help beat this game, because in my mind, I was really good at doing puzzles and stuff. But in this game, like some of them are just like, really? Like there was one that I looked up, 84,000 views on this YouTube video on how to beat this puzzle. And I'm like, if 84,000 people need to look up how to beat this, something's wrong with your puzzle, right? Like you shouldn't have to go to YouTube to figure something out. There was a time, believe this or not, kids, there was a time when a video game, if it was hard and you couldn't get past a certain part, you're just doomed. There was no internet. There's no cheat codes. There's no save states. There's nothing. It's just you versus the game. And probably made us all tougher back then because of it, or made us cry more. But that wasn't even the worst of it. There was another one that had 1 million views on this puzzle. And I'm like, okay, me and 1 million other people had to look up over the last 5 years. This game came out exactly 5 years ago yesterday. In 5 years, 1 million people. Like how many copies did the game even sell? To the point that 1 million people need to look up how to complete this one section. That's terrible. But yeah, the game, it's a mixed bag. There were times that I really loved the level design, and I thought it was so exciting and really, really fascinating. And then there were other times, like I mentioned, that I just absolutely hated the game and wanted to quit. So boy, it was something. And I hadn't experienced that in a while. Like usually games that I play, it's like they're just fun. They're fun the whole way through. And, you know, because you look at reviews and you know what you're getting into. In this game, like I never played the previous Luigi Mansions, although Mrs. Brickitect, or Cody as she's known in some circles, is that getting old yet? She played through Luigi's Mansion 1 for the GameCube, and she beat that game. And I heard that's the best one of the bunch, even though it came out a long time ago. So I might need to go back and play that one. Speaking of that, I'd like to share my GameCube story. I remember when we bought our GameCube, we were late to the game with the GameCube. I think we bought it in like 2004. And I remember it being at Circuit City, if anyone remembers that place. It was on sale for $99. And Mrs. Brickatect and we split that down the middle, $50 for me, $50 for her, and we got the game. And I think I got like the new Wave Race game. We got Mario Kart Double Dash. We got Luigi's Mansion. We got like all the classic games for it because they'd already been out. And I remember just like really enjoying that. And that was just like a good memory for me. We got the silver one. And that was her decision because she was like, well, all your consoles are black, so you should get the silver one. I wish we got the purple one at this point because that's like the classic. But yeah, to get that for $100 now, it's probably more than that used at this point to get it for $100. But yeah, it's good memories. And those were the days when she used to play video games. Not so much anymore. Like some of us mature, some of us don't. And you know who I'm talking about here. And I guess maybe like me, and I got into this kind of too, even as a grown kid. I look at games kind of like as a waste of time. But if I can live stream them and make content from it and entertain people, I can justify it. So, and with Clarkman too, like we're doing it together. Like it's like perfect in every way, sort of like Lego is, which is, I guess, where we'll go to next after my very extensive Luigi's Mansion 3 review. I did feel a little bad though, because a few people had bought the game because we were playing it. And I was then like right after that, I was just like trashing the game, and I like felt awful that I was like, convince these people to buy it, but some of them liked it. The one person actually beat it before we did, like in one day. So that was wild. And at this point, I give it like a tentative, like maybe like a 7 out of 10, I guess. Just know what you're getting yourself into if you buy the game and play it based on what I'm saying here. But I don't think, like what I just said, I don't think it's going to sell anyone on it. Like if I'm telling you the game will make you want to quit, maybe you view that as a challenge though, and you're like, fine, bring it on. I'll show you, Greg. Okay, go ahead. Anyways, let's talk about the world of Lego, something else that we got the results we desired and deserved. And that was defeating the Lego Minecraft Mountain Cave. Not only did we beat Luigi's Mansion, we beat the Minecraft Mountain Cave. This is something that Clark and I have been working on every morning before school for about 2 weeks now. And every day I would document like the start of the day and the progress we made. And we just kept going every single day. We build for like an hour. And then we go to school and build for an hour, go to school. And the video, I knew the video was going to be awesome. And I just got that done moments ago, as I mentioned. And I love it. I love it because it's almost like, it feels like such a commitment. And it was to watch us, like our shirts are changing constantly. We're making all this progress. You start out the video with like these bowls full of Lego parts, like that cover an entire table. And by the end of it, all those bowls are emptied and you have this giant set that Clark's demonstrating, and he's talking about how much he loves it. And we had such a good time doing it together, and we split the build. So he's working on a section, I'm working on a section. We're watching Doug. We're almost done with the new Doug series on Disney. There's Watch Attack for you. But yeah, I loved every aspect of it. And it was just so cool that after almost 5 years of that being in the storage room of doom, like in a box, someone had sent this to us. It's done. It's finished. We did it. And it was like a good time because I think back then, like Clark being, 5 years old or whatever, I don't think he would have been able to do the work that he did, because it's not an easy set to build. And there was a couple parts we had to go back and kind of fix, even at 9 years old, but it was cool to do that together, and I wouldn't change anything at this point. I'm so happy. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to take a picture of it. I saved the return address from the person that sent it because it was still in the box. I had taped over it to hide it when we did the mail time video all the way back in the day, but they had taped over their stuff. So it was almost like laminated. I pulled that tape off and I have their address. I don't know if they still watch our videos. I don't know if they still live at that address. But I'm going to risk it, and I'm going to take a picture of it, like with Clarkman and the set being done. I'm going to write them a note that says how much we appreciated them sending that to us so many years ago. This was December of 2020. And I'm going to take that picture along with the note and put it in an envelope and mail it to them. It may go to somebody that, they're going to have no idea what it is, but at the very least, it's like the best that I can do to like let this person know. And I'm going to let them know that the whole video is uploaded to YouTube so they can watch it if they want to after all these years. Like it might have been like a kid that sent that, but now maybe they're an adult. Maybe God knows, like I get comments sometimes which are really cool that says like, you guys were my childhood, like during quarantine, like specifically. I think a lot of people like were looking for something during that time to occupy them. And it's like an honor, like even if they don't watch our stuff anymore, because kids, they grow up, they change their interests. One week they're into watching us play with Minecraft sets next week. They're watching, Fortnite content or whatever. I've watched it with Clark, man. His tastes change constantly, and that's totally fine. But to know that during a period of time we could have meant something to someone, I think is pretty darn cool. So I love seeing those comments when they come through, and like to have people like rethink of us. Sometimes it's in less positive ways. Like I had a gentleman reach out this week and left a nice comment, but a sad one, that said that he used to watch us back in the very beginning when we got Roxy Bear, and he was inspired at the time to get a chocolate lab as well. And he got a lab, I think in 2013 or 2014, and his lab had recently passed away. And he came to check on us to see if Roxy's still around, and was very excited to see that she's still with us. And I've had a few people kind of mention that they had gotten labs later than we did, and how they had passed away. So in some ways, like, as much as I feel bad for them, I'm also very thankful that we still have Roxy Bear after going on 14 years now. Like, she's almost 13 and a half. Definitely not the dog that she used to be, but she's still with us, and that makes me pretty darn happy. And I just like, I know I shouldn't like let other people's like setbacks fuel me, and I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case, but I think maybe you can understand where I'm coming from with like feeling appreciative, like you're thankful that like that you still have that. Hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully that doesn't come off as like nasty, because I don't intend for it to be that way. Like, I'm not like, oh, your dog died, mine's still alive. Like, I'm not gloating. It's just like it gives you a sense of appreciation that maybe you wouldn't have had otherwise. So I like to think that like that's that's okay to think like that. I don't think I have to justify. You guys understand where I mean. So that was what we got done in Lego this week, but I have a little bit of a story time to share with you, and maybe some parents out there can relate to this. What do you do when your kid becomes smarter than you? I'm running into that right now. There was a light brick in the set, and it was a little dim. And I knew I had some batteries in the storage room of doom that we could replace it. And to do that, you have to unscrew the light brick and take it all apart. So I unscrewed it, took it all apart, and then I went to put the new batteries in. And I'm like, why aren't these going in the right way? And Clark's like, oh, they have to go in this way over here. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I did that. Then I'm like, why can't I get this thing back together? And he's like, here, you have to do it like this, Dad. And he puts the whole thing back together. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be the one that shows you how to do things. Why are you now smarter than me? And it's crazy. Like, there's some things like the kid's just sharp. And I guess that's pretty cool too. But I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I got humbled this week, Like, I go to the gym. I try to do the weights that I did before. Maybe that should be the title of this episode. How to get humbled. Go to the gym, try to do weights, get completely crushed and ruined. I try to play Luigi's Mansion thinking I'm good at gaming and solving puzzles. I get like just destroyed in that game. I can't figure out how to put even a simple light brick back together. My kid has to help me with it. What's wrong with me? Maybe my brain's going. I think that's probably it. Time to go to the old folks home. That's where I'm destined for. But yeah, that was the story time. I have a weird dream story to share with you too. If you have an interest in deciphering my dreams, if we have any dream analysts out there, I don't have much to go off of here, but I know that I have my private pilot's license, and I flew Cody, or Mrs. Brickatect as she's known in some circles, to Japan. And we visited Japan, which was great. But then she wanted to go to North Korea. So I'm like, all right, let's fly to North Korea. So we're flying into North Korea. And then I realize suddenly that I don't know how to land the plane. Something that is like, I have my pilot's license. We landed in Japan somehow. Why don't I know how to land this plane? And I'm trying to figure it out. And I feel like how did I get my license if I don't know how to land a plane? And where am I going to put this thing down at? And I've done this before, but how can I land this? We're going to die. I don't think we ever landed the plane. I don't know what came of us or what happened there, but I remember looking at the instrument panels inside the plane, and it was really weird because there was all these blips showing up on the like the radar thing. Probably North Korea shooting missiles at us, shooting us down. Why we were going to North Korea from Japan, I don't know. But that happened, and I don't know how I decipher that dream. I guess it's maybe I feel like an imposter as a pilot, or just in general. Maybe I feel like I've bitten off more than I can chew. Maybe I feel like I can't take care of my family. I don't know what it is, but I don't recommend flying a plane into North Korea, particularly if you don't know how to land the plane. That's what I learned from my dream. So let's move from weird, scary dreams to weird, scary nights. That's the segue I've been dreaming about. Oh my gosh, it's hitting on so many levels here. You better leave a like on this video. Halloween 2024. I don't care if you leave a like on this video. I really don't. I'd rather you do anything. If you're listening to this podcast or you're watching this podcast, all I demand out of you is that you leave a comment on this podcast. Talking about something that you thought about while listening to this, something that you gleaned from this, something that you hate about this podcast, whatever it is, I'm just asking that you leave a comment. And I know 95% of you won't. That's just the way it works. Most people on YouTube, I could literally pull you through the screen right now or pull the AirPod through your brain and you won't do anything but passively listen to this. It's time for a change. It's time for you to participate. Let's go. I won't ask any harder than that. I basically threatened to kill you, okay? It doesn't get any more aggressive. I do like hearing from you guys, though, which we'll get into right after this segment, after we talk about Halloween 2024. As you probably know, as of now, if you watched the video that would have come out Friday night, Lord willing, Clark Man was Iron Man. He's been obsessed with Marvel lately, particularly with like the Fortnite season. He loves all things Marvel, Iron Man. It's a thing. So he decided to be Iron Man this year, and it was a cool costume. We actually got like a custom mask that I found on eBay, but it was a little too heavy for him. And it is already like Halloween was like 76 degrees was the high, and it was so warm. Like I wore shorts and a t-shirt out trick-or-treating. Usually when we go trick-or-treating, I'm wearing a hooded sweatshirt with like a jacket on top of it. Cody's worn long underwear before, or maybe Clark. I think maybe both. It's like usually pretty chilly. It snowed on Halloween before. We could have went swimming, basically. Maybe not that far, but it was just a beautiful night. And we went to a new location with our buddy Nicole, and Nicholas and Lucas, her husband. We went down through their little development where they live at, which is not far from us. And then we went through another development as well. And it was just a great time. Like usually we go into our old town, and like there's so many people that don't participate. Like you go down a block and you look down it and like no one has a light on, and it's like, all right. So we'd go to like all through all these blocks, like blocks and blocks and blocks to find these places, which is fun. But this was like way more efficient because we're in like these little developments where like everybody's participating. Like it's like a national holiday there. People's got their lights on and music playing. It's like a party atmosphere, and everybody's giving out stuff, and they're like giving out very generous candies. Like we're not talking like little fun size. Well, we got some of those. Like people are giving out full things of Skittles and like push pops and just crazy stuff. And it was really nice. And it was fun for Clark Man because he had Nick with him, and they're just running from place to place. Clark Man sweated himself silly. Like he had to come home and get a shower. He was soaked, wearing one of those like thick costumes on such a hot night while you're running, even though he only had shorts and a t-shirt on under it. It was nuts. But it was a great time. It was fun having like them there. And then Cody had Nicole with her, so they got to chat and stuff. I'm of course filming, and it was just a better experience for everybody. Nick was hilarious. He was a ninja, and he's doing like ninja rolls. He's diving into piles of leaves. He's a maniac. He's a wild man. So, and Clark's way more chill. He's a chill dude. Nick's a madman, and it's fun to see them together. And like, I love like the parts of it that I really love is seeing Clark like being really like caring for Nick, like making sure he's taken care of. There was one part that in the video, I didn't really notice it while I was there, but I noticed that Clark was like holding the door open for this person who was giving candy. And then before he walked away, he like asked to make sure that they had the door, like so the door didn't close on him. And I was just like, that's cool. That made me proud. Like I like to see that kind of stuff where it's like, you know, if everybody was a little more caring like that, if we thought about other people, it would be, I think we'd all be better off, right? Instead of it being every man for himself. And, you know, especially with, I won't get into politics here, but with the election coming up next week, which I'm sure we'll talk about, you know, it seems like maybe we've gotten more divided and more hateful towards each other. And it'd be nice if everybody could just kind of like get along, because I think that regardless of your race or gender, no matter what you are, I think we probably all have a lot more in common than what some people would think. And we're all kind of facing the same problems, and we could most certainly benefit from the same solutions. I think we're blinded to that, but that's as far as I'll go with that. That'll get some people probably fired up. If you need to leave the podcast from that, see ya Anyways, that is our Halloween night. It was a great time. We got a nice candy haul, and if you'd like to watch that video, if you haven't already, 30 minutes of it. I think I recorded for like an hour and a half total, and 32 minutes of that became a video. So there's a lot there to watch. Lots of candy grabbing, lots of fun times, and it was another Halloween in the books. And I'm just like, I asked last night, I'm like, how old can kids be while they still trick or treat? Because I don't know how many more of these we got left. I don't know if you can be like a 15-year-old Incredible Hulk out there, but maybe you can, you know? Will I be the dad that's filming the whole time? I don't know, but I have all these Halloweens documented, and I hear back from people all the time how much they enjoy them and how much they're looking forward to them. So that was pretty cool, and that was pretty much my my whole week and what we were into and up to. Lots of that, you know. So let's get into the listener feedback portion of this, the part where I'm like threatening you at gunpoint to be a part of. I don't even have to do this with Tracy though. Duplo Tracy. She's what we call a repeat offender and a longtime survivor. She says, and this is in response to last week's episode being about procrastination. It was called The Pressure of a Deadline. She says, I'm the queen of procrastination. I'm the king. I've learned a lot from you how to try to overcome it. You might want to look for somebody else as your mentor in that. Thanks for being open about it and sharing your story. If I find a cure for it, I'll let you know. Thank you. I'm worse off than you are. So if you can help me, I can't help you. Sam says, not many people wanted to confess to being procrastinators. That didn't hit with people. But the part where the kid wrote in about seeking dating advice, specifically if you're a Lego enthusiast and maybe being embarrassed potentially if your future mate finds out, or like trying to hide that, like what do you do? And like just asking for dating advice in general, which I was terrible at giving because I haven't dated anyone since I was like 18, and that kind of just came together. So it's like, I don't know, dude. I think if I had to date these days, it'd be an absolute disaster. Could you imagine? Sam had a comment though. He says, well, first of all, he commented pressure of a deadline. Something can be scary, but also fun. Tackling deadlines feels like a game to me if it isn't anything serious. I'm so happy for you to accomplishing your accomplishments in gardening and chickening. Thank you. Chickening is now a verb too. He says, let's go on to the dating advice here. He had some other nice things to say, which I'll skip over because I don't like to, I feel self-conscious with that kind of stuff. But he says, dating advice, I don't have a whole lot of it, but I'll talk about it a bit. If I had one piece of advice to give the Greg's World audience, this is the Missing Pieces audience. They don't know Greg's World. Who's that guy? I'm just kidding. He says, don't get too attached to them until things are set in stone. When I was a sophomore, I fell madly in love with this senior I had known for 10 years prior to. Ooh, older woman. As a matter of fact, I fell in love with her right as I started watching Greg's World. Funny enough, he then goes on to credit me with that for, linking them together in some way. That didn't happen. However, I was afraid to say anything about it until the following summer, when I did finally talk to her about my feelings through Snapchat, unfortunately. She took me under her wing and we talked to each other almost every day. I felt like she was going to be the one I was going to marry, the one who I was going to be the mother of my children, the one who I had to hold until the day I die. He went all in. I was truly on cloud nine during that time in my life, and it inspired me to do so much during my junior year. However, it all came to a tragic end on November 19th, 2023, a day that could have been the best one of my life, but ended being one of my worst. I decided it was finally time to get serious about things with the holidays coming up. She, however, told me she simply wasn't ready for a relationship. We agreed that communicating in a friend-like ways was the way to go going forward. It left me in a giant pit of sorrow, which I still haven't fully recovered from. We still support each other, though, and we talk every day. It just feels a bit different. She's an amazing person and deserves the absolute best in life, even if she got a boyfriend behind my back. Yeah, I found out about that earlier this week. Okay, let me say this, Sam. It's much better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. You can credit me with that quote. No one else in history ever said that. It's better that you went out and said something to her, because how many people have a crush or there's this person that they have their eye on or whatever, and then you just never have the guts or the bravery to ever say anything, and then you're just left wondering. At least you threw it out there, dude. You could have just went forever and never said anything, and then you guys go about your lives and you find out way later that she had a huge crush on you. I saw a Reddit post on this where guys realize way later, oh shoot, I missed all the signs. In this case, you shot your shot, I think your kids are saying these days, and she might have swatted it down like the craziest blocker in NBA history. But at least you tried, man. Let me just say this too. There's plenty of other fish out in the sea or the ocean or the aquarium, and you're bound to find one. So don't get too heartbroken. But I do want to say this. Your ability to write is fantastic. Like the way you wrote that, even the English teacher wife, known as Mrs. Brickitect in some circles, she would be proud of your writing style there, and the way you painted the picture of this story and the language you use, I think is quite impressive, and I think we can all agree on that. So let's all send Sam our positive vibes this week towards this girl that backstabbed him and went and got a boyfriend behind his back. I mean, she has every right to, but you'll find the right person. Don't sweat it. Next one comes from Lego Jasper. Also, thanks for putting yourself out there too. It can be a scary thing. Lego Jasper says, as an autistic Lego person, connecting with someone can be hard. So I decided to embrace the Lego as my personality. No one can get around me liking it. Take away from all this is I don't care about what anyone thinks. The right one will not care about any of it. Facts. You know what? I like that philosophy. If you don't like a certain aspect of me, fine. That's a part of my life. That's a part of who I am, and I'm not going to change that. And you shouldn't change who you are for other people. It's like the worst thing you can do. Like pandering to someone else and like being who you're not, it's just not sustainable. All you can be is who you are. And if people don't like that, then they can kick rocks. That's my thoughts on it. You know, and maybe that's like a little aggressive or whatever, but you know what? The only thing you have is your unique personality, and if you have to change that, then it's just not the right thing. Next one comes from Brittany, and I like Brittany because she's the first time commenter. That's what I'm looking for here. Thank you, Brittany, for coming around. It says in regards to dating, I think it's that important to be honest about the things you like from the get-go. I feel like I was lucky with my husband who I met in college. I worked at the library, and he would go to the library almost every day to tutor students. You guys are good students, good peeps. I had a huge crush on him for about a year until I finally decided to talk to him, and we hit it off. We both like playing video games and hiking, amongst other things. We also have separate interests as well. Me, reading, him, game development. Ooh. Though we have 2 young kids now, we still take time to enjoy things we like and share them with our kids. My family and I watch Greg's World. We love watching you, Clark, and Cody having fun together. Thanks so much for another great podcast, and happy Halloween. Oh, I love that. What a good message there. That is fantastic. I also I find it fascinating from a guy's perspective to hear from a woman or a girl at the time that had a crush on a guy and who went out to say something to the guy. Like, what a great position to be in as a guy. Because it almost feels like the guy is always supposed to be the one that makes the move, right? Like in every regard. To have a girl come up to you and say that she has a crush on you, dude, that is that's got to be the best feeling ever. You have to ask your husband about that because and the librarian too, or she's not a librarian. She worked at the library. She was a student working at the library. But anyways, that's pretty darn cool. That'd be that's dream material. I dream about flying planes through North Korea. Some guys dream about a girl saying a librarian girl having a crush on them and coming up and telling them game over. That's a whole different type of dream. Okay, Brittany, we'll move on. Thank you for being a first-time commenter. Don't let it be your last time commenting, okay? We need you back on this, but I appreciate you tuning in. I'm glad you enjoy the videos. I hope you're enjoying the Halloween video as it came out. You probably saw it this weekend, assuming you're still listening. She quit listening after I started commenting about her being a librarian. Anyways, next one comes from NM. Says, hey, Greg, long-time listener, first-time commenter. We got 2. As you mentioned, I found that Lego is a really great activity to do with my partner. She never actively disliked Lego. I was also never really interested until I suggested building the recent Tales of the Space Age set with her now, and Lego's become one of our favorite activities to do together. Talk about winning life's lottery. Lego has become so diverse in their themes recently that it's so easy to find something for everyone, regardless of gender and age. Hope you have a great week. I agree, especially with all the 18 plus sets. You know, it's not like you have, say you find a girlfriend or whatever, wife, significant other, and she's like, well, I don't want to play Lego friend sets. They're for little girls. Where you're like, well, have you seen this Lord of the Rings set that's amazing? And you're a Lord of the Rings fan. She's like, oh my God, that's incredible. Oh wait, it's $450. That's the biggest hurdle, I think, of any Lego activity. It's the cost. But if you think about how expensive it is to go and do almost anything. You know, like you buy a Lego set for $100. It seems like a lot, but you think about the hours that you're going to spend sitting together, putting it together, enjoying that time. Man, what's the difference if you do that or you go to a concert or you go out to eat or whatever? At least you have something to show for it. You go out to eat and you spend $100, you know, on food and dessert and drinks or whatever. That's gone at the end of the night, you know? But with this, you guys got that time, and then you got something to display. Tales of the Space Age sitting on your mantle, and it's like you look at that and you think about the times you had together, just like I do with Clark. Now, can we get Mrs. Brickitect involved in building? Maybe if she wasn't doing so much with school, maybe like during breaks and things, we can bring her back in. But it's mostly me and Clark, man. Like that's our thing. And she's into the baking scene, so we don't really share that. I can't really see myself going down that path, but maybe I could try it. I more like the outcome of it as opposed to the process, but I do like the process and the outcome of Lego. It's, you know, we all have our own things, and I think that's totally fine. Next one comes from Jay's Hobby Reviews. It says, thanks, Greg, for another weekly podcast. Thank you for actually listening to it. I should be thanking you. It says, funny, though, I don't comment as much as I appreciate the content you create from the family vlogs, the Lego content, video game streams, and of course this podcast. These recent weeks, you've mentioned about how time and how fast it can catch up to us has caused me to think about the present day more than the future. Playing Fortnite this past weekend with my 7-year-old son and winning 2 matches has caused me to look back on how fast time has caught up. Thanks for the wonderful, genuine adventures over the years. Thanks for watching, man. I'm glad you guys had those experiences. And I know your son probably feels the same way, that his dad's actually invested in him too. That's really cool, and good for you. Good for you, man. Next one comes from Megan's Moments. It says, I listened to the podcast this week on Monday since we had trick-or-treating on Sunday. On Mondays, I drop off my son at school and I go to Meijer, like a nice Walmart, and I do some nice, quiet grocery shopping. We're living the same lives here. It's so quiet in the store at that time, but still well stocked. When I got home, I turned on the podcast and worked on cleaning out our fridge and freezer. Long overdue. So thanks for keeping me on task. The fridge and freezer look great. That's fantastic. I love to hear about what people are doing while they listen, because I'm always curious. Like you're out in the world right now. You're doing maybe something exciting, maybe something boring. Maybe you're not doing anything at all. Maybe you fell asleep 20 minutes ago when I was talking about something that was really boring. I don't know, but it's kind of fun. Like now I picture that. Like we had people comment before. There was a lady that commented that she listens while she washes dishes. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. You know, like I can keep you company while you're doing that. So if I ever start feeling down about the podcast and I'm like, is this worth like spending an hour on every week? And this is by far the least popular thing I do. 2 people actually care about this. Hey, that's 2 people that actually care about this. So that's kind of what I think about. And how would you clean your fridge and freezer out if I didn't do this podcast? It wouldn't even be done. Your fridge and freezer would be filthy. Just like stuff would be growing in there, freezer burn, everything. No, none of that would have happened. But, you know, let me dream, okay? Thanks for commenting, Megan. Thanks for supporting the channel all the time. Windows security, get out of here. All right, we got one more comment left from Dusty. It says, I'm so angry at you, Greg. This is a hate comment, so I thought I would just share this for last. He says, I'm so angry at you, Greg. Just kidding. It's not that. He said, just kidding. He says, I'm the guy who recommended The King of Collectibles, which I tried watching, and I decided it wasn't my thing. It's more of a reality thing. I like the reality of YouTube stuff. He says, I thought you would love it because of collectibles and treasure hunting, but I guess that's okay not to like it. It makes me like you even more that you actually take in recommendations from your comments. And guess what? I'm going to recommend some more. My recommendation is more starting lineup videos, please. I got some in the storage room. I can start making them. I was going to do like one every week because I have probably like 3 or 4 purchases. I've kind of cut myself off a little bit, but I've got some really good stuff to add to the collection. That I can certainly do. He says, I'm also excited that this is becoming a dating advice column. Joking again. In all seriousness, you being you is the best advice you can give because it's showing yourself that you can accept who you are, and it shows others that it's important to be authentic and may give others the courage to share some of the unusual things they do as well. In summary, if you can find someone who accepts you for you, you have found a good person. I wish I could give as good advice as what Dusty does here. Like I quit. We're just gonna have Dusty take over the podcast, please. You give all the advice going forward. He says, thanks for being a good person and looking forward to those starting lineup videos coming soon to a Greg's World channel near you. You'll be one of the few people that actually enjoy those, but I enjoy them, and that's why I do what I do, because I make videos because that's what I want to share and that's what I'm interested in. And all I have to know is that there's other people out there that will follow that path and everything will work out just the way it always has and always will. So on that, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode as I talk about all the things that I get into and up to, and specifically in relation to getting the results you deserve. If that topic resonated with you or anything else that came up here resonated with you, you can leave it as a comment and we'll cover it in next week's listener feedback. But on that, I hope you have a glorious week on the first week of November. And as always, we'll find you in the next Missing Pieces.